Okay, well, the Stanley Cup playoffs start Saturday. A few regular season games still to complete. 5 games on the slate tonight. DraftKings contributor Geoff, Ulrich, RotoWire's Paul, Bruno are here for opening face-off, choosing between DFS and Sportsbook plays on this Wednesday slate. So same story, different day here, guys. It's a Matthews and MacKinnon night, but with everything all but decided for Toronto, how much sense does it make to look at MacKinnon, or is it not worth paying up for those two superstars at center? Geoff, you go first.
I know Toronto doesn't have anything to play for here, but I'm going to still lean with Auston Matthews versus Nathan MacKinnon. I mean, you just look at the production here and realistically look at the matchups. I mean, LA, Colorado played a couple 3-2 games, close games, but low scoring games as well. Anything could happen in this Toronto-Ottawa game. I mean, realistically, it just feels like it's going to be a loosey-goosey game. It's the last game of the season for Ottawa. They're not a good defensive team. Still throwing out third and fourth string goalies. Matthews here, what other motivation does he have except to just score a couple more goals and go after that MVP trophy? You could see a hat trick here from Auston Matthews. I really wouldn't be that shocked. I think that is going to be his biggest motivation. Still probably going to play over 18 minutes ice. And like I said, I think the matchup is a slightly better here versus Ottawa. So I really do not hate paying up for Auston Matthews there. It's not really a deep slate either in terms of just, centers. So I think paying up for one of these studs, and my preference would obviously be Matthews. And I'm looking for value at the other positions is probably the way I'd go tonight.
Paul, what's your opinion on this?
I'm going to go to the other side and say I'm looking at MacKinnon. Despite me being a Leaf fan, I'm looking at saving $600 and saying, here's a guy with 13 points his last 10 games played, motivated to keep the heat on Vegas in the race for first. So that's something the team has to play for. And he'll keep his foot on the gas a little bit more than I think Matthews might be inclined. He'll probably play a little bit less, as Geoff just said, than usual. And don't forget, though, that Matthews is got the goal scoring crown locked up, and his drive is to stay consistent in his lane. And one other stat, his career goals per game in history shows the highest marks against Ottawa, their opponent tonight. If you go lower in the board, though, there's value in finding a guy like Chandler Stevenson at $5,100. He's the top line center on Vegas, and the club is trying to lock down that first spot in the division. And against a Civ-like team defensively in San Jose, he has 9 points in his last 10 games as well. That price point gives you the wiggle room to fit in a guy like Matthews and MacKinnon if you're looking to pair at center. Even cheaper value plays at center, Josh Norris at $4,800 and Joel Eriksson X. They both have very good numbers over the last 10 games, respectively.
Let's go to the wings and things department, guys. Minnesota's Kirill the Thrill KAPRIZOV has at least 11 fantasy points in each of his last 6 games. He'll cost you $7,100 as a wild take on St. Louis, but Avs winger Andre Burakovsky has at least 10 fantasy points in that same span. Goals in 4 of his last 6. My goodness gracious, but he'll only cost you $4,900. You going with value here or paying up, Paul?
You know what? Kaprizov's been a model of super scoring consistency, as you implied, helping to change the Wild's identity, in fact, to a more capable and recognizable offense as opposed to more defensive structure. I'm not overlooking this club in DFS play anymore, and he's a big part of the reason why. So yeah, I'll take him tonight versus St. Louis, I think. And I also like Burakovsky as well, because his profile is such that he's looking to be productive consistently on a second line role there on a scoring situation, and he's got a low price tag on a right wing on that second scoring unit as well. If you want to go cheaper, though, Matt Zuccarello in DFS play is a guy that I've talked about from time to time, and tonight's going to be another one of those times because he's undervalued as a very capable playmaker at his wing position. I know he has only 1 goal in his last 10, but he also has 7 assists in that stretch. That'll cost you only $4,800. There's even cheaper value plays, like if you want to settle for Josh Norris against Toronto. He's got 6 points in his last 10 games. Timo Meier, $4,200. He has 4 points and 2 assists in his last 10 games played.
All righty, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I think wing is a lot deeper tonight than center. Paul made a good point with Chandler Stevenson, but there's just so many other ways you can go here. A wing, KAPRIZOV is fine. I mean, they don't have a ton to play for either. Minnesota, they're pretty much locked into the 3rd seed. I think Brady Tkachuk is really interesting. Dude just fires the puck, more than pretty much any winger in the league. going up against Toronto. I just feel like this game is going to be super loose. So I don't mind. I think if I was going to choose between the two, I'd probably lean to Chuck slightly tonight, but those two are really close for me. I like paying down, though. I like finding value at wing. Zuccarello is a great call. I like Alex Tuch, too, at 4,700. I really feel like Vegas kind of let one slip against Colorado last game. No Max Pacioretty. Tuch gets power play exposure on the PP1 for Vegas. I love that. Gets his shot off a lot. He's overdue for kind of a multi-goal night, which he kind of just pops up with once every month or so. So really like Alex Tuch. And another kind of third line, just grinder guy who just shoots the puck a lot, Connor Brown for the Ottawa Senators. Him and Batherson are both really good values, I think. So I like going after Ottawa. I like the value there with Tuch. I think it's a night where you can pay down on wing, get really good upside.
Geoff, how about on defense here, dude? Justin FAULK has become a presence on the blue line for St. Louis, averaging nearly 12 fantasy points per game over his last 10, but his salary has also climbed up as a result here. We're talking like 5.7 this evening. A little further down the board, $500 cheaper, 5.2. Minnesota's Jared Spurgeon has, points in 5 of his last 6. Do you like either of those two options, or are you looking elsewhere?
I mean, FAULK has basically turned into like a must play here at the end of the year. St. Louis is really thin on defense. They've had some injuries, and that maybe getting a little bit healthy. It still looks like Vince Dunn is going to be out tonight, though. Perico's back, but just keep playing FAULK. He's playing in all the situations. Power play 1. He's playing pretty good too, quite frankly. It's not really a good trade-off they made in the offseason, FAULK for Alex Pietrangelo, but again, he's getting the minutes. So he is just a must play at under 6K in my opinion. You can pay up for Theodore and stack that Vegas power play. It's a really good matchup against San Jose tonight. I know Theodore's kind of been bad for fantasy lately, but I really feel like Vegas is going to come out and just drop quite a few goals tonight. So I don't mind that play. There is some value out here, though. Erik Karlsson is super cheap at 4,300, obviously getting discounted a little bit because of the matchup, but he has been very productive down the stretch as well, shown some good offensive flair. I like going there for value if you're going to pay down there with Karlsson.
Paul, what say you?
I love Jeff's call on Erik Karlsson. 24 shots on goal, 5 points in his last 10 games played, only $4,300 for a guy who a couple of years ago was the top defenseman offensively in the league. I also like a couple other guys who fit a similar profile. Torrey Krug, his price point is low at $4,600, considering he's on a pretty nice streak with 9 points in his last 10 games. Also looking at the 20 shots on goal in that stretch as well as 10 block shots. Nice numbers across the board there. And similarly scripted for Jake Muzzin in Toronto, whose ownership share is likely going to be lower than all these other guys, priced at $4,800, despite a better than 2 shots on goal per game, 2 block shots per game, and 7 points in his last 10 outings. So lots of value lower on the board in defense than the 2 guys that you started off with here.
Let's do some sports bet talk here, Paul. Which NHL money line bet do you like on the DK Sportsbook tonight?
I already said I'm a Leafs fan here, and they're on a roll, unbeaten in their last 8 games in regulation, but they may take a collective foot off the gas tonight against Ottawa, a team that always plays these guys tough. Freddie Anderson is in goal, his first start in 8 weeks. So that's a question mark for me, not knowing what to expect from him. And I said the Ottawa team always plays Toronto tight. The Sens playing at home at plus 145. It looks like the best deal on the board tonight.
All right, what do you like? What's the best deal on the board?
Yeah, look, I like Ottawa too. They played Toronto tight this year. You're getting good value. I think they're 3-5 against the Leafs, but there's like an OT loss or 2 in there. So I like that call. But since Paul went with Ottawa, I'm gonna go deeper here because I think the Kings at plus 283 right now, it's just too tempting. I mean, this is a ridiculously huge money line for an NHL hockey game. The Avalanche are minus 345 favorites. And look, these 2 teams played. I know the Avalanche are like 5-1 in the season series, but these 2 teams played last week. It was 3-2 both guys. 1-goal games here. I mean, we're talking, all we're talking about is one big Cal Peterson, like 40 save performance, and you're getting a W from the Kings. I think at this price, you can look to the Kings on the money line tonight. It's just, you just do not see these lines this big in hockey. And look, Colorado, they squeaked out a win against Vegas. They really didn't look that good offensively lately, though. I think the Kings could are in a spot here where they could pick up the W. And realistically, it's just about the odds. They're just massive for an NHL money line.
Geoff, is that your favorite overall bet, or you have anything else?
No, I like going to the Vegas Golden Knights here and the San Jose Sharks. I like the over here. It's 8 of the last 10 Sharks games have seen 6 or more goals scored. They're just not a good defensive team. They don't have good goaltending. And I also like Alex Tuch to score a goal at plus 185. So again, you go after that Golden Knights offense, you go with the over in that game, and Tuch to score a goal I also like for a player prop.
Paul, bring us home.
I like Minnesota at plus 170 tonight. I think this team is an offensive juggernaut. They're way ahead of St. Louis in the standings, and I think they still have something to play for in terms of trying maybe to get home ice in that second 2 versus 3 pairing in their division. So they have something to play for, and I think their offense is going to light it up against a Blues team that is really coasting into the postseason.